All right, everyone, welcome to week 14's lab class. Today is Friday, the very last day of the week, and TGIF, thank God it's Friday, in terms that things will be settling in over the weekend. You can get adequate rests, and also at the same time, you could do well and get majority of the work done over the weekend. All right. So without further delay, what we'll do is we'll continue where we had left off yesterday. And then from there onwards, we will try to complete off the completion of the entire website. Okay, so I will quickly go and open up the file in which we were working in yesterday, and I ask you to do the same. So I have it saved inside my lab folder, so complete website. So we are still left to do a bit of work in the HTML page, and then we will have to create a style sheet. And after that, you will also go and start configuring things. So first of all, can we go and open up our notepad to edit it and insert in few features in there? Now, what you notice is yesterday we had done a lot of work. So far, if I would try to open this up in a browser, so this is how your website actually looks. Okay, now it's all messed up at the moment because we still have a lot of work to do. Okay, it's pretty messed up. So we will try to control all these elements and ensure that things are sorted out very, very well. Okay. So one more thing that we were left in here was, remember we had mentioned in our design that we need a map. Okay, we need a map in your right hand side footer section. So if I would have a look at it on the right hand footer right section, look at your class footer right, it's blank. So we do not have a map in there. So let's go and insert in a map. It's not difficult to insert a map. Now what we want to do is we want our map to be responsive. Responsive meaning they would change when the screen size would change. Moreover, people would be able to move around with the map and actually go and locate where they are and try to get the distance calculated. Now, the only way we could get this done is through the use of a map that is generated by Google Maps. Now, in Google Maps, there's a feature whereby once you get the location selected, okay, and then you can actually go and pin your location where you are versus the selected location, and then you can get the approximate distance and the directions to reach that location. So that's why we would want to go and insert in Google Map. Now in this case we are saying it's Fiji National University's dummy website or simple website. So let's go and find out the exact location for where Lautoka campus is. Okay, so I would go onto maps. So it's maps.google.com, or you can just type down Google Maps. Okay. See maps.google.com or Google Maps once you search over it on the web. Okay. And in there you have Google Map. So far it's picking up somewhere here. By default, it picks up the current map. If you would have a look at it. So this is Fiji National University. So I will try to zoom in. So how do I zoom in? Scroll my mouse cursor upwards, or you can also use in your zoom in button, the plus sign from the zoom bar and the minus sign. Now, do you see this? Okay, this aim icon, that means this is where you are. So when I click on it, so Google wants to know your location, allow it, and you'll see that this is where I am seated. Now I am in Lautoka campus at the moment in the ICT lab. So this is where it picks up my slot. So this is the reason why I mentioned that we need to insert in a map which picks up the location where you are, and from there where you want to go, and then it can provide you with the adequate distance. Okay. If you want to have a map in a satellite view, so this is the satellite view of the map. Now this is the ICT building here. I'm somewhere in teaching lab at the moment. So this is how it's allocated in there. So you can have it in terms of a satellite view, or you can have a terrain view, up to you. Now, even if you look at the traffic view, okay, that's where you have the most amount of traffic, the green lines, and so forth. You have a transit view. I have not used transit view previously. This is something new that came up. Okay, yeah, so I'll stick to terrain. I prefer terrain. It's easy to locate using terrain. So if you want to, you can choose satellite. I'll give a minute to slot in the location for Natamwa campus. Now, if you're not able to slot in, now you won't be able to slot in using the aim bar because it will actually go and pick up where you are. So if you do not want to go and manually search down the map for where Natamwa campus is by doing something as such, what I would suggest for you to do is click on the aim location bar. So you'll get the location where you are, have it done for your current location. It's all right, even though it's not picking up Natuma campus. I just want you to learn that this is a feature that you could actually use. So let's say if you're working for an organization and you are supposed to get a map done for the organization, so you'll be obviously seated in the organization, and from there you can quickly pick that up. Okay, I'll give you a minute to quickly get it sorted, and then we'll go and insert the code for it. All right, let's continue. Now, to actually get the coding for this particular location, you need to get a HTML coding. Now, to do that, you'll see you have a menu bar on the top left-hand side of the screen. So those of you who have joined us, thank you for joining in, okay? And yeah, so we are making our website from yesterday's work. So if you missed on to yesterday's work, you might need to look up at the video and catch up from there onwards. So from the menu bar on the top left-hand side of the screen, you have something called as share or embed map. I'd like you to go and place a click on it. So once you place a click on it, now there's two things. One, you're sharing a link. The other one is you're embedding a map. Now at the moment, we are not sharing it anywhere. We are embedding a map. So when you try to embed a map, you will see the exact location. If you want to, you can zoom in. So this is where Fiji National University is, and this is how the map would look in your website. If you want a smaller version, this is a smaller size. If you want a large, this is a large size, and if you want, you can always go and edit the size as per your desire. But we'll keep it to a small size at the moment because we're inserting it at one corner of our website. Remember that. After that, we will copy HTML. So once you copy HTML, right at the very bottom of the screen, pardon me, my zoom bar is coming in. Yeah, somewhere here at the bottom, just underneath that, you'll see it will say, there you go, copy to clipboard. Okay, so you need to ensure that is being done. If you do not get the message, that means the code has not been copied. After that, you will go and directly paste your code inside your footer right, and Control S to save. All good? Once you've done that, go back to your browser, refresh it up, and see if you have a map coming in. There you go. Okay, so there's a map. Now, we have not styled our page, so it looks all messy at the moment. That's why we have CSS, and we need to ensure it comes in this specific order. So this is how the website is. And currently we have inserted in all the elements for HTML. Now with this, what you'll auto notice is this, is that when you actually move with the map, okay, you can scroll up and down. Okay, do you see this? So this is why it is very important for you to have a map of such caliber like what you have in Google Maps being shown. Now let's say I have lost the place where Fiji National University is. Not a problem, you can always go and refresh your page, and there you are to it. You can even view the map in a larger environment. Okay, so that's how it looks. All right, so that's on HTML. All good, people? So next thing what we'll do is, with our current page, HTML page, index.html, you'll go to file and click on new. So you have a blank notepad file. After that, you'll go into file and then save as, and then you will name your style sheet. So we'll name it as style.css. You can name it to anything, but we are keeping it to a simple style.css, and then hit the save button. Do not forget to insert in your extension.css. Ensure it is in the same folder where your HTML file is, and hit the save button. Okay, now once you've actually named your style.css, you'll notice that your index.html file disappears. I'd like you to go and open that up again in Notepad, because we still have a code to insert in there. Remember the link code? All right, we need to insert it in there. So can you go and insert in your link for CSS? How do you insert your link? How do you go around inserting a link? Now have a look at this. Now we had done a couple of exercises. Look at, I think you have a home here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This is the external CSS. Okay. Now let me just open this up and show it to you. It's going to be very much similar. Okay. Do you see? It comes inside your head tag. You have link, rel, and href. Okay. So that's how you're going to insert it in here as well. So in our index.html, within our head tag, you have a single link tag, and in it you have, what do you have? You have rel. Okay, and what is your rel here? So it is a style sheet, and you have a href, that means your reference, hyperlink reference. So where is the style sheet coming from? So the name of your style sheet is style.css. So this is where it is coming from, and Control S to save. After that, you go back to your style.css, and let's go and test it out. So how can we test it out? Let's insert in a simple styling whereby the entire web page goes red in color. We'll remove that later onwards. So body is your selector. Opening close inverted, opening close parentheses. So you will say background hyphen color, and then let's put it to red followed by a semicolon, and then Control S to save. So once you've done that, and when you refresh your index.html page, what you should notice is that the color of the entire website should go red. If it does go red, that means you have created style.css file very correctly. you have linked the CSS file in the index.html page correctly. Moreover, your code here also needs to be correct. If you do not insert in the code correctly, let's say instead of background, you put down background, okay, you missed R, and let's save this up, okay, and then refresh. So the color won't come in. So it needs to, you need to ensure of these three things very, very carefully. So background, Control S to save, and then go back to the browser, refresh. Well done in this case. Okay, so let's go and remove this at the moment. Control S to save, refresh. We don't want it to be red in color. Now, first things first, we'll start working from the top of the page and then slowly and gradually we'll move down. So if you would again have a look at your design, okay, so that means your banner occupies the entire width of your screen. So in this case, remember, we don't want to give sizes in pixels. We want to ensure when you change the screen size, that means if you view this website even on a mobile phone, you should be able to adjust the website as per the screen size. So first of all, we'll start to work on our banner. Now there are a few things. First of all, to work on the banner, you need to know what is the name of that class. So the name of the class itself is banner. Okay, so I will go and first of all insert in a comment and say banner. Why do I need to insert in a comment? It makes it easy to identify things later. That means you are inserting in the CSS code for the banner. So to call out the class name is banner. So whenever you're calling out a class, you need use a period sign and a banner, and in open and close parentheses, this is what you'll have. Okay, so you'll ensure that the entire thing floats to the left-hand side of the screen. So when you float things from the left-hand side, that means the starting point is the left-hand side of the screen. So if you have a look at it, I won't think you will have much changes. Okay, slight changes. Now what happens? The rest of the text moves down. Yes, it does. Sorry, moves up. It does moves up. Have a look at this. Have a look at this just in case you have not felt the difference. Okay, I've removed portion of the code. Okay, so this is how it is when I move everything to the left-hand side. So what happens? The banner container is adjusting to the size of the image and it is moving everything to the left-hand side. So whatever is below it will also go and shift from the ending point of the banner. So refresh this up again. So this is how it looks. Take a minute. We'll fix the other thing soon. So take a minute and get this done. Okay, before you get this done, let's go and also insert in the width so that it covers up the entire screen. So to insert in the width, we'll insert now height. You can actually give the height in terms of pixels, but width always ensure in order for you to have it responsive. The word responsive means it can work and fit in any screen size and will still look the same as how it looks in front of you at the moment in your screen. Okay, so to ensure that your website is responsive, you need to use percentages for width. So width, we want it to cover the entire screen. So 100% followed by a semicolon, Control S to save. So once I've inserted that, refresh, this is what it looks like. Now, get this done. I'll give you a minute. Okay, notice this now. Now, our banner is occupying the entire 100% of the screen, okay? But remember, your banner is not this image. Remember, image is inside the banner container. So your container covers from this end, from the very beginning to the very end. So now what it means, that means your image size is small. To actually go and adjust your image size, we can do few things. So you need to call out your image. Now look at the order of things. So you have banner, your class, the container, and inside the container you have an image. Now to actually go and do changes to the image, this is what you will do. So you'll have banner called out and the same time image, open and close parenthesis, and your image, let's have the width as 100% also, followed by a semicolon. After that, go and refresh your page. Looks better now? This is the code. Now, notice this, once we actually increase the size and the width of your image, the height also is affected. For us to control the height, this may be too big. Now do notice this, that when your website basically has too many images or too big of the images, that means the file size of the website also increases. When the file size of the website is too big, so what you will definitely need to ensure that if it's too big, it will take a lot of time to download that image. Now, in this case, let's go and make our image bit smaller. So with the height, like I mentioned earlier, you can always control height in terms of pixels. So height, let's have it as 300 pixels. Now I'm just doing a trial and error. Spelling of height is incorrect, by the way. I'm just doing a bit of trial and error, just trying and my best to see how it looks when I put the size to 300 pixels. If I do not like it, I can always go and increase the size. So Control S to save, go back to the browser, refresh. Yeah, this looks good. Look, this looks better actually, right? Bit better. Yeah, so let's have it as 3 pixels, 300 pixels rather. Take a minute, and after that we will go and move on with the next set of work. The next set is we have to control the body container. So Seema, how are you doing so far? So you're the only one in the class today. I think others, they will be catching up with the video. So how are you doing? You finding it easy, interesting, boring, difficult? Okay, thank you for your feedback. All right, now let's look at the plan, the design. Now we have a container. Within that, you have 3 more containers. Now notice this. Remember your banner from here to here is 100%. So likewise, your container from here to here is 100% as well. Now, when you want to divide your containers in 3, okay, so that means you'll equally have to divide them. So that is 33.33% each. Now, what we'll do is we'll not keep it exactly as 33.33%. Why? What will happen is, so when it finishes at 33.33% and begins off straight away, so the text would be too close to each other. We'll try it out and then I'll show you why. Okay, so first of all, let's go and control the bigger container, the whole thing. So what is the name of that container? Okay, the name is body. So it will be very much same as what we did for the banner. So over here, first of all, we'll insert in a command and call this as body. And in there, you'll call out the class. So the class name is body as well. So opening and closing parentheses at the same time. Now, the first thing that you will do is you want it to ensure that it floats to the left-hand side of the screen. So float is left and Control S to save. And then always go and refresh it up. So you won't see much changes. In fact, you do see a bit of change. Now, what is a change? Have a look at this. This is what it was. Now notice this. It was too close to that banner. So when you actually float it to the left, there's a tiny bit of space between. So left, Control S to save, and then there you go. Okay. That's why we use float features often. Moreover, what we also need to ensure is that the width of our body container is 100%, followed by a semicolon, Control S to save. So once you do that, you can go and refresh your browser. You won't see much changes at the moment. You'll see the change when you insert the container within the containers. So this is the code that you have so far. Oh, good. Now, let's go and control those elements. So we have placed the styling for the entire container. Now you have to control this. So the 100%, you have to divide it into 3. Okay. Now we can do this. Let's first of all go and figure out what is the name. So over here, body left, the name of the class is left. Okay, so that's pretty simple. So what we will do here is this. Now, remember we had inserted banner and then image. Look at this code, banner, image. Now in this case, we will not do that. Why? Because over here, your body left has a class of its own, left. So if you want to control the paragraph, then left and T for paragraph is the selector. Okay, so this is how we'll maintain it. So we'll call it as left. Okay, and then the very first thing that you want to do is you need to ensure that it floats to the left hand side. Control S to save, and then go and refresh it up on the browser. Okay, you won't see much changes at the moment. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. After that, now this is the main thing, the width. So let's get the width to, let's say, 33.33%, followed by a semicolon. Now this is where you'll see a lot of effects coming in. Control S to save. Notice this. So 33.33% has been occupied by this section. Pretty good. Okay. There you go. This is your code. Now, what you'll need to do is you will need to do the same for the other two sections. Remember, these are equal sizes. Okay. So you'll need to do the same for the other two as well. So the next one is center, and the other one is class within the body container. So in here, the very first one you'll insert is you'll call out center, and then open and close parenthesis. So in it, float to the left hand side also, and width to be 33.33%. Control S to save. So once you've done that, you will go to the browser, refresh your page. It's getting aligned now? Yes, it is. It is. You are dividing it. Now, this is what I was saying. When you have 33.33% for all of it, your text will be mixed up. We'll sort it out. Either you can allocate a size of, let's say, 30%. You can do that But remember, when you allocate a size of 30%, so this section will still go and get squashed up where it finishes up for the left container. Okay, so I have a solution for that, which I'll tell you straight after this. Okay, and the last one that you have is the container name is right. So in here, you'll go and call out your container, which is right, open and close parenthesis. So just like the other ones, you'll float it to the left-hand side. And at the same time, your width is going to be 33.33%. And semicolon, Control S to save. So when you refresh your browser, this is what you get. Now, by default, what had happened was just because you have pulled the center container to the middle and to 33.33%, this had come to its place, but you still need to declare it as left. If you won't, the containers below it will get affected, and you don't want that to happen. Okay. Let's take 2 minutes for you to adjust to this and get things sorted. Okay, now let's go and adjust this. Now this is so squashed up. Now we have learned in our previous exercises with CSS, even in yesterday's class as well, while we were working with the navigation bar, that you can very easily go and allocate spaces between elements. Now, there's two ways which can control space between or around elements. If it's between or within the element, it's going to be padding. If it's outside the element, it's going to be margin. Now, this is what we want to do. Now, we want to ensure that there is some space. So this is the left-hand side. This is the right-hand side. Let me just go and annotate something so that you have a spotlight. Okay, there you go. All right, so this is the left-hand side, and this is the right-hand side. So what we can do is the outside section of this container, we can always go and feed in some space in terms of pixels, or even if you want, you can have it inserted inside. So either is going to be margin or padding, whichever suits you the best. So let's go and insert it inside the container. Okay, so when you want to insert it inside the container, so it is going to be padding. So let's go and add a padding to the right hand side, and let's call what size. Okay, you can do a bit of trial and error. Let's go and insert in 2 pixels and see how it looks. If it's not adequate space, you can always go and increase it. So padding right 2 pixels. Now a bit of space here. Okay, now don't worry about why it has gone down. I'll tell you in a while. Now, but this space is not adequate. You notice that? Why? Because it's still mixed up. So if we want to have in more spaces, so what we can do is have 5 pixels and refresh this up. Now a bit of space in there. Likewise, we will do the same for the center. So padding right to the center section and Control S to save. Go back to the browser, refresh it up. Now, what has happened is our container here has gone down. Why? Why do you think it has gone down? Look at this and tell me, why do you think it has gone down? The main reason why it has gone down is this. Now you have already used up all 100% of the space, if I'm not wrong. 33.33 plus 33.33 plus 33.33 gives you 99.99%. Now within that, you are trying to squash in 5 pixel space. So that may not be appropriate, right? So what you'll have to do in this case, let's do a bit of trial and error. Right. Thank you, Seema. Right. You're correct. Let's do a bit of trial and error and then try to reduce the space to 33% and see how it actually looks. And refresh. There you go. Now, also notice if you feel the space is not enough, it still looks a bit messy. So what you can do is you can try 7 pixel space. Now you won't need to edit to the right hand side, just left and center. And Control S to save. You may go and refresh your browser. Now looks better. Looks better and well divided. So I'll give you a minute to go and cross-check your codes. If you want to insert in 10 pixels, you can even do so. Okay, there's no harm in trying. Remember, it's all about trial and error, and it's all about meeting your needs. So if 10 pixels shifts everything right at the bottom, so what you can do is you can go and reduce the size to 32% as the width. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. This can also work. Okay, there you go. More space in between. At the same time, everything is in order. So there you go. Take a minute and try to get it sorted. Okay, moving on. Now we have already set the banner. We have already set the body container. Now we're moving on to the semi footer section. Now let's have a look at the code. So this is semi footer. So the semi footer has 3 sections as well. Semi left, semi right. Has 3 sections, 2 sections. It has 2 sections, semi left and semi right. Okay. So first of all, you need to go and control the entire container. So semi is the name of the entire thing. So the name of the entire thing is semi. So this is semi left and this is semi right. So likewise, just as we did for the body and the banner, now this gets simple as you try out a bit more exercises. So you'll get well versed with it. So this is for semi footer, and you'll call out, first of all, semi with open and close parenthesis. So inside it, you'll have it floated to the left hand side. Do not forget to float. If you forget to float, things will not come in order. You need to ensure to designate. Now, even sometimes if it looks that without the float, it would work. Now, the containers and the elements below that section would jumble up. So you need to ensure things are floated and set in order. And that also set the width to 100%, semicolon, Control S to save. And we may go and this is, yeah, we go and refresh the browser. So you have a bit of space coming in. At the moment, things still look like they are in one specific line. So we'll need to go and adjust that. Now to adjust the two sections that you have, semi-left and semi-right. So semi-left, first of all, we'll try it for that. So period sign, since it's a class, we're calling out a class. So semi-left, open and closing parentheses. So in it, you'll need to ensure you're floating it to the left-hand side. And at the moment, the width will keep it to 50%, semicolon. Okay, if we need to adjust it, we'll adjust it accordingly. All right, so let's go and see if that works. Here you go. See, this section comes in. Now do notice this, that the right hand side also comes in appropriately in the right hand side. But have a look at this. Look at this container, all in square. Look at this. Okay, why? Because it's floating on its own. There's a default floating, and you have not allocated it a size yet. Okay, so that's where things will make a bit difference in it. So the next container that we have is semi-right. Now, why are we using a period sign? Because it's class. How do you know it's a class? Because it's stated class is equals to semi-right. All right, and then with an open and closing parenthesis, you'll float it to the left hand side first, and then we'll have the width as 50%, also followed by a semicolon, and then refresh. Now what happens? You won't see much changes. Okay, why? Because we are still left to insert in a space here in the middle. So how can we insert in a space? So the last time we tried out padding, remember? This time let's go and try out margin. So margin, what side it is? To the right hand side. Now this is your left hand side, this is your right hand side. So margin hyphen right, let's have a 5 pixel margin to the right hand side of semi left, followed by a semicolon, Control S to save. Once you have done that, you may need to go to your browser and refresh. Okay, now why do we not get it left and right hand side? Because of the spacing. So let's reduce this to, let's say, 48%, and this one also to 48% to see how it looks. So there you go. Looks better now. If you want to still insert in more space between those, so let's have this as 10 pixels, and let's see if this justifies with 48%. It does. Now you have some more space here in the middle, so that means you can actually go and adjust it a bit more. So instead of 10, let's put in 12 pixels in here. In fact, you can have it 15 pixels. Try it out, trial and error. There you go. So this is how your website looks so far. And does it go according to the website design? Yes, it does. Okay, so this is how it was. Your banner, image in it, 43 sections, semi-footer, 1, 2 sections, and then now you have a footer with 3 sections in them. Now the tricky portion that you'll have in your footer left is the image, because the image occupies like the half of the website. There you go. In fact, it's way more bigger than your current website if you have a look. So that's the tricky thing in it, but we can work it out. Okay, now this is what we'll do next. Okay, so the next thing is you have footer. So let's go and allocate a space of 100% width to it. So we'll insert and start off with a comment, and we'll call it as footer. So the name of the class is, I think it's footer as well. Yep, it's footer. So footer, open and closing parentheses. Now also do realize that when you have a name of the classes allocated appropriately, it becomes easy for you to call it out and easy for it to declare and do things with it. Okay, So you need to float the entire thing to the left hand side again. It needs to finish off where it has ended with the previous element. And also the width, let's go and set it up to 100%, and then Control S to save. Now you won't see much changes because this is going to be a headache, a bit of headache to actually go and get this sorted. Okay, because the images are too big. Don't worry about it. Let's stick to what we have. Let's stick to the basics. Remember, the criteria still remains the same. How we did things for those, it'll still be the same. Okay, and stick to the basic CSS you have learned in the class from last week, before last week, and this week. Okay, remember, knowing basics is very important. If you don't know the basics, you won't be able to do a lot of things. Now, there are ways in which you can create the websites without the use of HTML and CSS coding. Now, those are called content management systems. For example, you have Joomla, you have Drupal, you have WordPress. But if you make an error with those, you still need to know the HTML and CSS code. So that's why you are learning this. You know the basics, you can do anything. Okay. Now, next up is we have footer left, footer center, and footer right. And we need to give them allocated spaces. So 33.33% is the equal divider, and then later onwards, we can, if you want to, we can go and change it around. So we'll call it out. It's a class. So footer hyphen left, open and close parenthesis. So over here, we will float it to the left hand side, and then the width that we will allocate to it is 100%, semicolon, not 100%, pardon me, it's 33.33%, followed by a semicolon. Control S to save. Okay, now have a look at this. See, this comes in a line. Since you have said, hey, footer left, you are a container, I've given you 33.33% of space, go to the left hand side. So all the images, they fall right one underneath each other. Do you notice that? Okay. Now after that, let's do the same for footer right. So period sign, footer before right, we have center, footer center, open and close parenthesis. So in it, we'll float it to the left hand side again, and the width that you're giving in is 33.33%, followed by a semicolon. Do you notice that once you allocate the width, the other side just moves into to its own corner? Okay, so this is the main impact of it. So if you had not allocated, let's say, if you had not allocated float left, for example, Control S to save, do you see what happens? It follows up from here. You want it to come right over here. So that's why your float features play a very key role. There you go. Okay. And the final one is footer right, and then followed by a set of parentheses. So you'll also need to float this to the left hand side, and the width also needs to be 33.33%. Do not forget the semicolon. Control S to save, and then refresh. So it comes to its own section in here. Now, what looks a bit off is this. Okay, in here you have too little space, but that's fine, not a problem. Okay, because this is just a dummy site. Okay, so it lacks space sometimes, generally, not sometimes, but always. If you're creating a very professional website, you try to fill up the empty spaces. Remember when we were when we were discussing the lecture notes on the designing portion, make adequate use of the white space. This is what it means. Okay. Now we still have some work to do in here. Why? Because first of all this. all these needs to come to a correct size. Now to control this, so for footer left, you have images in them. Now, if we are going to put these into sizes, all of them need to be in the same size. Now, just in case, if you wanted to have them into different sizes, you could have inserted a selector at the ID or class and call them out by different names. But we want them to be in the same size, all of them. So this is inside footer left, and then you're controlling the image. Now to do that, I'll very quickly go there. So you have footer left. By the way, this is going to be the same as what we did here. Do you notice this? Banner image. So footer left, and then footer left, and in them you have images. So open and close parenthesis. Let's give a width of 10 pixels, let's say. 10 pixels may be too small. 15 pixels. And a height of 15 pixels as well. So it will be represented in square dimensions, okay? Because your width and the height is of the same size. Control S to save. Go back to the browser. F5 to refresh. Now this is too small. Do you see this? Now, do you notice what happened? Such big in size has gone small. Now this is too small, just for way of showing it to you. Now we need to make it bigger. So let's say 50 by 50. I think it will still be small. Okay. Still small. If it's still small, let's make it a bit bigger. So 50 is this size. So if you put it 100, so it'll be double of this size. Probably this size, 1, and then 2, and then 3. Yeah, that could work. That could work. Remember, like I mentioned, do a bit of trial and error, see which one works, and then Control S to save. Now, one more thing, just before we proceed. Now, this is where a website designer. So a website designer is a person who designs a website, something like this. Now, he or she does not design this, only he or she allocates the size of the image on the website. Now, when they're allocating size, that means they need to be quite sure, and at the same time, they need to be quite experienced. So even if you want to become a designer, a person who designs website, you need to have prior knowledge in developing websites so that you could know what size is what. Okay, so 100 pixels, Control S to save, and then refresh your browser. This is the size. And that completes your entire website. Now, what the issue is this. At the moment, you don't have adequate content in here, so no proper use of white space. Okay, now what you could do is, now you won't be doing this in today's class. In fact, you won't be doing this in CIN535, but when you have space as this big, you can insert a contact us form. So name, email address, phone number, comments, and submit button. I think that would definitely fit in this size, so that would be great. Moreover, this is good, but there's one lacking in here. What is a lack? Look at the size of the images. So this one looks a bit smaller. So you might need to go and use photopea.com to insert a circle around this as well. So the circle that you insert, look at the consistency. It's blue, so complete blue. Red, complete red. In this case, you have variations of colors. So your circle also needs to come in variation of colors as well. Graphics is also important when you're developing websites. The size of the map, at the moment, it looks good. So if you make it too small, it will be too difficult to control it. Okay, it will be too difficult to make it visible. Okay, so that looks pretty well so far. Now, one more thing, let's go and center this up. How can you center it up? So to center up the images is footer left image. And how can you center it up? Align and then center. This won't work. Why? Because it needs to be text align. And then Control S to save. And then refresh it up. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't shift images with text align. So text align is meant for text only. All right. So we might need to go and remove this. So if you want to control this and ensure this, it goes somewhere in the middle, you can always do that. How? You can insert in padding left and padding right of certain amount of pixels. For instance, I can insert in a, instead of padding, let's have a margin, margin left of 2 pixels and margin hyphen right of 2 pixels as well. Control S to save. So when you refresh it up, it shifts a bit towards this side. If you feel the space is too little, why not shift it a bit more? 5 pixels. You have a lot of space on the other sections, by the way. 5 pixels, and then refresh it up. Refresh it up. Pardon me, needs to be this one. Refresh it up. This is how it looks. Looks big better. However, no adequate use of white space in here. Okay. Now, another thing in which you can actually go and modify this is, I'm just giving a solution. Okay. So you can have these two in one separate container, and the map can occupy the entire screen at the bottom. A separate container whereby you can have a map, just like we have it for banner that stretched out. You can also have a map some right where at the bottom, and then you can try it out. This is something that you can try in your project too, by the way. I think you're asked to insert a map in there. Okay. So, yep. One more thing in which you can do is, at the moment your website is plain white, you can always go and add a background color to the entire website. So I will call out a command and say background color, and in it you can say body, open and close parenthesis. So you'll have background color, and let's give a color as something as you like. Let's have a gray color. Spelling of gray is Gray, not EY. Okay, and then refresh. So your website is grayish but doesn't look good. Okay, if it's too dark, you can always have a light grayish color. So light gray, Control S to save, refresh. Looks a bit better. Now, how do I know the color? Like I mentioned in the previous HTML class, go to w3schools.com, or you can even Google up. So you can write down CSS colors, and these are the CSS colors in w3schools.com, and you can choose a color of your choice. For example, you have Crayon. Now this color is quite good. Azure or Alice Blue. Let's try Azure. I've never tried it out. It's not bad to try out new things. So Azure, Azure, and then Control S to save. Let's refresh this up. So this is how Azure looks. Okay. Now, so this is on the complete website development. Now, using this model website development, what you could do is you can go and create a website of your own. Now, how much time did it take? Yesterday, we spent close to about 1.5 hours, not 1.5, probably 1 hour, 15 minutes with the HTML, CSS. Today, 1 hour something. Okay, that means within 2 hours, you should be able to create a good website. Now, another thing you can do in here is you can always go and insert in your navigation bar. We learned navigation bar in yesterday's class, so you can have a navigation bar coming in right here at the bottom. So that will add up, and you have a complete website. So if I'm not wrong, it might take you about 3 hours to get a website done. Now, if you are someone who is yet to get things sorted for your project 2, here you go. I'm giving you a sample in here. Okay, everyone? Now, this is where we'll close off the class for today. So if you have any questions and queries, I'll give you 2 minutes to ask. And if not, we'll close off the class for today. Any questions, anyone? No questions? Okay, so while you are gathering it up, please just a few reminders. Do note that your lecture-based quizzes are due on Sunday. 11:59 p.m. Your project 2 is due on the 7th of November, next week Friday. There's no extension after 7th of November, by the way, because on the following Monday, your coursework will be out. In fact, your coursework was supposed to be out on the 7th of November, but I'm giving you some time to actually go and attempt this. So over the weekend, I will take time out to mark your projects, and the marks will be in by Monday evening. Yeah, Monday evening, your entire coursework will be out. Okay, if no questions, this is where I close off the class for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Those of you who will be looking at the video later onwards, please take time out and learn this properly. Oh, okay. Now, Seema, what has happened? You are not able to see your quiz mark, is it?
Just for 1 week.
Just for 1 week? Okay. I know what the issue is. There's supposed to be some manual marking in there. So give me some time today. Just let me put it down in my to-do list. Okay. Give me a second, Seema. Any idea which week quiz is that, Seema? Not sure.
Let me check.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'll get to know it about anyway. As soon as I will go to the entire profile, I'll be able to see in which one you do not get the mark. I'll have a look at it and I'll get it done by today. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Have a good day.
Likewise. Thank you. Okay. Any other further questions?
No, sir.
No? Okay, if not, so this is where I will knock off the class for today. Please use your time well, try to get everything sorted by next week. All right, everyone, take care, stay safe at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.